A coalition of migrant truckers is suing California to keep their commercial driver's licenses. The Trump administration pushed states to claw them back, saying at least 8 people were killed this year alone in crashes involving big rig drivers who entered the country illegally. Jonathan Hunt is live from Los Angeles with more. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Julie. According to the lawsuit, thousands of immigrant truckers face losing their commercial driver's licenses and therefore their livelihoods as soon as January 5th, in the wake of the announcement from California officials that around 20,000 CDLs would be revoked because their expiration dates went past the date the drivers were legally allowed to be in the U.S. That decision was a response to pressure from the Trump administration after a series of deadly accidents involving immigrant truckers, including one in Florida where a driver who was in the U.S. illegally made a U-turn on a turnpike and caused a crash that killed 3 people. Excuse me. Organizations representing the affected truckers, many of whom are Sikhs from the Punjabi region between India and Pakistan, have now filed a class action lawsuit arguing that the California action is based merely on a clerical error that mismatched expiration dates and immigration information. The Sikh coalition saying, quote, "These drivers have spent years anchoring their lives to these careers only to now face potential economic ruin through no fault of their own. They deserve better, and California must do better." The lawsuit is asking the Alameda County Superior Court to halt, at least temporarily, the license cancellations. Julie?
All right, Jonathan Hunt, thank you so much.
Sure.
Nate.
All right, let's bring in Chuck Marino, former DHS senior advisor, to dig a little bit more into this. This has been a big problem throughout the year, with at least 8 deadly crashes with these illegal migrants driving these big rig trucks. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy explained a little bit more about the problem. Listen here.
These rules are not made up by the Trump administration. I didn't make them up. These are rules that are set up to make sure our roads are safe. And so if you can't speak English, if you haven't gone through the proper training courses, you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a big rig. These are 80,000-pound vehicles that can be incredibly dangerous when things go wrong. The problem is that you had Joe Biden that let tens of millions of people into the country, and then you have liberal governors who said, well, they got to work.
So more than 17,000 of these CDLs in California are set to expire coming up on January 5th. The rest of them will expire in February. The migrant truck drivers say that there's going to be a whole bunch of damage to the economy if this actually follows through. Where do you see this going?
Well, I got to tell you, in general, I think we'd all be hard-pressed to identify a policy decision that's originated out of a sanctuary city that doesn't endanger the American people and degrade the overall quality of life in this country. You can't let 20 million people into the country in mass migration, unchecked, unvetted, and expect positive results, or not expect that to impact every segment of American life, whether it's education, healthcare, jobs, or here in this case, public safety. There are far too many examples where public safety has been compromised outside of these sanctuary jurisdictions, by the way, just to show you how far-reaching these poor policy decisions by these elected officials in these states have impacts.
You talk about the public safety issues with the trucking situation, but also just migrants committing crimes. And we saw federal immigration officers attacked again on Christmas Eve in Maryland, where 2 illegal migrants were captured. One of them tried running over an ICE agent, and then the ICE agent shot the driver, who was an illegal from Portugal. And I want to show you the way that some in the media described that situation, with NBC News saying, quote, "ICE officers shoot driver during immigration operation in Maryland," authorities say. The Hill with 2 hospitalized after ICE officers shoot driver during operation in Maryland. And the New York Times with the headline, "Man shot in ICE confrontation in Maryland." Does that accurately describe what happened there?
No, it doesn't, nor does it accurately describe the 8,000% increase in threats against ICE and CBP and other federal law enforcement agencies based on the rhetoric from these elected officials that are doing nothing to solve the problems in their communities and making the good guys the bad guys and attempting to do that. And unfortunately, people buy into that. At the end of the day, law enforcement use of force when a vehicle is used as a weapon against a law enforcement agent is allowed to use deadly force to defend themselves. That's it. It's the standard at the federal level as well as the state and the local level. So this is not about ICE. This is not about CBP. This is about the radical left encouraging those that are against immigration law to act violently.
All right, Chuck Marino. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.